Hello!
Good morning, everyone.
We are joining you live. It's both myself, meteorologist Carly Smith, and
Kristin, Walla.
yes! We're so excited to talk about the weather that we're dealing with. This is some of your favorite weather, right?
It is. I'm so happy. I have my sweater. I've got my hot coffee.
Yes.
I'm thriving.
Kristin walked in looking like fall in a nutshell, and I loved it. I loved it. I am more of the summer weather lover in the group, but
Definitely.
a nice change is nice.
Yeah, especially after the hot summer we had.
Yeah. Record-breaking summer in more ways than one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So now we're cooler. So how does everybody feel about the cooler weather? Let us know in the comments, and we'll break down the forecast, which isn't an easy one by any means. Forecasting rainfall in South Texas, we want to get it right, and we're doing the best. So here's a look at our graphics now. So right now, this is our current satellite radar imagery where the front has moved through, and we're dealing with the rainfall. And so essentially, temperatures are much cooler now. We're 60 in Corpus Christi and 54 in Amarillo, so we're not too far away from the Panhandle, which is kind of rare,
nice.
Especially at this time of year. So we are dealing with some rain. We'll talk more about why we're seeing the rain and how long it's going to last in a minute, but we're going to talk temperatures first. 24 degrees cooler than the same time yesterday. That's a pretty good front.
Oh yeah, definitely. The clouds and rain definitely helping keep those temperatures down.
Yep. And speaking of keeping the temperatures down, they're going to stay very steady throughout the day. So that steadiness, we're just going to stay feeling like for about 60 degrees all day long, which is nice. So here's another look at the rainfall. We'll break it down on radar. Let us know where you're watching from, and we'll show you what's going on there. But we're getting a little bit of isolated activity up toward Freer, Beeville. Don't expect a whole lot of rain really north of, I believe it's Highway 59, yes, right? That goes up through Freer and Beeville. Most of the activity is going to be closer to the coast today, which you're seeing right here. So cool temperatures, rain, moderate rainfall through Rockport, Aransas County. Port Aransas going to see another burst of some moderate rain. Southside and Flower Bluff getting a lot of the rainfall through Corpus Christi, not as much near Robstown right now, but even if you're not seeing rain on the radar, this is a scenario where it doesn't mean you're not getting light rain, mist, drizzle. Yeah. So anyway, you can see that stream really just pumping in from the southwest and moving north, and that's where most of the rain is going to be centered, right through, Clayburgh County, Nueces County, and then along our coastal islands. That's where the bulk of it will probably end up being today. Not a whole lot forcing it any further south at this point.
Yeah, we've got that big stream of moisture coming in, and you can see it really well here on the water vapor imagery. That's all coming from the Pacific. That's not a storm. We already looked at that. To the southwest there, it's just a big disturbance, a lot of convection down somewhat towards the equator, but you can see how all of that moisture is really coming up right here over Texas. Those lighter whites and blues, the browns is the drier air, but you can really see all of that moisture coming right here over South Texas, and that's why we're going to continue to really see a lot of the cloud cover, the rain chances here. That is all being fueled by this Pacific moisture coming in. And this is, what Alan has said, typically kind of an El Nino pattern, honestly, where we're seeing a lot more Pacific moisture here in the later half of the year.
Yeah, and that's what helps us get the higher rain during the winter months is Pacific moisture, that kind of more Pacific jet tapping into that moisture and bringing it up, and that's what we're seeing right now. That's what we're getting.
Yeah.
And so essentially that air in the Pacific and across Mexico is slightly warmer, and it's definitely more humid, and that's essentially creating that overrunning pattern that you hear us talk about on TV a lot. It happens this time of year where the warm air is forced up and over the cold air that comes in behind the cold front, and that Pacific moisture stream that Kristin just talked about is really being amplified, amplifying this pattern as well, because we've got a lot of extra moisture kind of throughout the atmosphere. So that warm warm air cools and condenses, and it forms that cloudy rain, and then the rain as well. And we've got enough energy today for some of the heavier to moderate rainfall. As we head into Saturday, it may not be quite as heavy, but you also see on that graphic thick low clouds and fog or mist. I think that's more so what we're going to see Saturday than kind of the steady light to moderate rainfall that some of us along the coast are seeing today. Yeah, so this is a great graphic that just shows everything that's going on.
Yeah, it's a really cool way to explain the overrunning pattern that we see a lot of times here in the fall and winter in South Texas, because y'all know we've got that warm and humid air, and it really shows how the cold front kind of noses itself and edges itself under the warm air. And I think this is a great graphic to explain, you know, that cold air has to go under the warm air because the warm air is less dense, so it gets pushed up. It's the same concept as a hot air balloon. That's why the warm air has to go up, and then all the moisture in it, as it goes further up, it gets condensed out, and that's, like Carly said, giving us those really thick clouds and just kind of dreary conditions here that some of us love.
Yeah, it's good for a little while.
Yeah.
I'll be ready for it to be gone by Tuesday and Wednesday when it starts moving out. But taking a look at what we're seeing on our futurecast, you will see the cooler air coming in behind the cold front, and then the green arrows emphasizing that moisture stream, which is pretty consistent throughout the day today and into the afternoon. Now, this particular model, it's kind of our in-house high-res model, does show some of the rain lightening up. There's another high-res model that keeps it pretty heavy, or not heavy, that's the wrong term, more widespread light rain, then more of that drizzle mist showing probably here. And so I think that when we're in the overrunning pattern, it's important to note that the radar doesn't always pick up what's happening at the lowest level of the atmosphere.
Yeah, it doesn't always capture that.
Yeah, and that's how our models are initiated. And so one thing, especially heading into Saturday, if anybody has been looking at weather models, one thing on Saturday, this is an atmospheric sounding that does show, maybe, I wonder if I can zoom in to where the moisture is. I'd probably have to edit it. What this is showing is essentially, it's what the weather balloons go up and get. This is a forecast for Saturday that is showing, I don't know what layer the photo is in. There it is. There it is.
Found it.
I found it. But this is what the weather balloon data is collecting. The red line is your temperature and the green line is dew point. And when the temperature and dew point are basically right there together, that indicates that there's going to be clouds and there's going to be a good chance for that drizzle that we're seeing. So, and that's all about 1,000. Let's see, it's in kilometers, so it goes up about 1.5 kilometers. So that's the really low part of the atmosphere.
Yeah, and it's a pretty thick layer of moisture too.
Yeah, and so the radar can miss that, and then the models can miss it as well, because they're kind of started with radar data and then ground observations as well. So that's why the weather balloons are so important also. Yeah. We've got a couple of people commenting. Dylan says the weather is insane, and Linda says thanks for sharing. He also says it's a good graphic, probably the overrunning one. And Zach says El Nino is strong, I heard, or supposed to be strong El Nino year, which I think it is trending stronger, but I haven't dove into all of the history of previous El Ninos yet.
Transitioned from La Nina over the last year or two to now El Nino, so it's probably not as strong as it could be right this second.
Yeah, so for the weekend, we are tracking drizzle, dreary conditions every day. I do think Sunday is going to see a little bit more rainfall than we will see on Saturday, and this is why. Not only do we have at the surface a coastal low forming, which we'll talk about in just a second, but we also in the upper levels of the atmosphere have a piece of energy, kind of a more mid to upper level low that's going to develop and bring us some energy in the higher levels of the atmosphere. So the graphic we just showed you kept a lot of the rainfall at the surface. When this energy comes into play, that'll help our clouds grow a little taller and produce a little bit more heavier rain. And by heavier, I mean like the droplets are larger than mist. Yeah. And so that's what we're looking at as we head into Monday, Sunday and Monday is that energy also playing a role in the forecast, which you also, I think this starts, I'd have to go in and edit it, but along the front, you can kind of see the energy with the front. So that's why our rain has been heavier as the front's still interacting with our atmosphere as well. But back to the Futurecast graphic, we have the coastal low that's developing tonight and into Saturday as well. It's going to hang off a lot right offshore, and so that's going to keep us with the Drury pattern as well. But once we tap into that upper level energy, that's when we get more widespread light to moderate rainfall across the area. So our rainfall totals are going to go up even higher Sunday and Monday versus later on tonight and into Saturday, because that upper level low is going to come in and help bring in even more of that Pacific moisture. Yeah. So here's a breakdown of all the rain we've seen over the last 24 hours. This is actually ending at 4 a.m., so we've continued to add to that, but Falfurrias was really the hot spot early on in the rain forecast. Right now it is 11:30. And our temperatures are still right at 60. We may not even make it to 62. It'll be a close call.
Oh, yeah,
but we've been hanging out at 60 much of the morning. Winds will stay out of the north. They'll remain breezy, and that northerly wind is what's essentially keeping us cooler. So I want to emphasize that the rain is a little spotty along the coast, mostly today. We don't add a lot of rain on our Saturday, but we do, heading into Saturday evening and then overnight into Sunday, start to see those rain totals going up higher, and that has to do with that upper level low. So as far as Veterans Day goes, dreary with low clouds and drizzle, but it still is trending that we're going to see the highest amount of rain along the coast throughout the entire event. So this is including what we saw with the front, where Falfurrias probably could extend that a little out, because they saw nearly between 2 and 2.5 inches today, and so 3 to 5 inches is going to be pretty easy, especially once that upper level low energy comes in. And it's continuing to rain right over, I think it's just south of Falfurrias. Yeah, they're still getting some of the rain though. So yeah, as far as today goes, this is definitely going to be the hot spot for rainfall. But yeah, let's see if there's any more questions. Any chance of that low turning into something tropical? No. Our sea surface temperatures are pretty cool, and they're only going to fall as we head into, or as the clouds settle in.
Yeah, I think the sea surface temperature I saw this morning for Packery Channel, I believe, was 77, but
it's going to fall. Yeah.
It's going to continue to fall.
So this is Gulf temperatures, which are cool. We needed at least 80 for tropical weather, and they're still right there in the Gulf, but along our coastline, 79, and that's where the low is hanging out, really, is closer to that buoy that's near our coast than further south into the Gulf. So there is tropical potential low chance for development in the Caribbean Sea, but that won't be any risk to us. So, yeah. Anyway, anything else you want to add, Kristin?
I don't think so. I think we covered it a lot. We've got that cooler weather in the next few days, cloudy and dreary. My favorite.
Yeah.
I know not everyone is a fan of it, but it'll get out of here soon enough. So.
Yeah. I think that this is a fun time of year because you actually get change.
Yeah, it's not just 100, 100.
Yes,
99, 100.
Yeah. It's a fun time of year. During the summer, it's what's the tropics doing, and during the winter, it's when's the next cold front.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching and interacting. Hopefully this was insightful and helped you plan your weekend. You should have the rain gear handy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, rain gear handy through Monday. It moves out Tuesday, and then the days I'm looking forward to, Wednesday and Thursday, because they're not too hot and not too cold. They're like just right with some sun peeking through.
It'll actually feel like fall.
Yeah, that'll be nice. And the lows are in the 50s still, so
nice.
Crisp little morning start. Yeah. All right. One more thing we can do is remind you that you can download the app. It's a great tool to have. We update the forecast there, and you can also watch these live updates there as well. So pretty fun times. Thanks for watching. I'm Carly Smith, and Kristin Walla is here too.